Do you give others the silent treatment after an argument? Do you tend to throw tantrums or remain closed off or pouty instead of owning your emotions and understanding your triggers? This is the thing. If we have childhood trauma, we grow into adult children. We don't know how to regulate our emotions because we were never taught how to do so as kids. So we end up being the kind of adults who actually throw tantrums. So we're actually big kids until we actually learn to do the inner work required to regulate ourselves and regulate our nervous system. My name is Angela Keary. I'm a feminine empowerment coach. I specialize in healing after narcissistic abuse, and I also offer twin flame and spiritual guidance. This is the thing. Like we can, like we've had this personally in all relationships. I've seen it in, romantic relationships. I've seen it from friends, and I've seen it in family members. You know what I mean? Like, grown adults having fucking tantrums. Grown adults giving you the silent treatment. Do you know what I mean? And I think we've all been there at one stage. You know what I mean? Like we all have this pouty behavior, this dysregulated behavior, because we don't understand how to express our emotions in a healthy way. So we pout and we blame everyone else. This is one of the things as well. It's not just our childhood trauma. Because of our childhood trauma, we don't take responsibility for what's inside us. We blame externally. So this is it. Like, if we've got triggers, if somebody triggers you, they're just looking at you. It's not the person, it's what's inside you. Do you know what I mean? If somebody triggers you in an argument, it's not what they say, it's what they trigger deep within. So what's coming up from childhood? Were you shown how to regulate your emotions as a child? Or did you remain dysregulated? We're in this fight or flight response. So this is the thing, like when we grow into adult children effectively, which we all have been until we do inner child work, we all evolve into adult children. And, we have this fight or flight response. So everything is scary. Do you know, as a kid, you're unsure of the outside world. So, you kind of do depend on other people for that safety. So everything kind of is a hazard. Everything is dangerous. Everything is fearful. But when we go into adult children, we tend to see that as well. So any argument we have, we are in this fight or flight response. It's like, oh my God, everyone's going to die. Oh my God, it's the end of the world. Do you know what I mean? And we end up turning into to children effectively. We throw tantrums. We're in this energy of I'm fine. Read my mind. I'm fine. Do you know what I mean? Oh, it is down to that wounded inner child. And I come down to this inner child work, right? We all have childhood trauma. And I've said this so many times before. You don't have to have had a broken household or a broken family growing up in order to have wounding. Wounding can come, like for me, it was physical abandonment. So my mom left when I was 2. Also, my dad had alcohol issues. So there's that abandonment as well. So like if your parents weren't there for you emotionally, if they had addictions, or even if they overworked, or even, there was aggression within the household, that's going to lead to that feeling of unsafety, that fear of abandonment, and that fear of rejection within us. So, you might think that your childhood was okay. And like we always downplay it. Do you know what I mean? Like we grow into adults and we just don't understand what trauma is. I've heard people saying, oh, I didn't go through trauma. Do you know what I mean? And then they explain what they went through and you're like, that's fucking trauma. Do you know what I mean? We downplay trauma because we don't understand it. And that's what it is. We don't understand it. Like for 30 years of my life, I didn't understand that I went through childhood trauma, even though my mother left when I was 2. And even though there was other issues within the family growing up, I would never have used the word trauma in connection to my childhood. But everything I did, every action I made, every decision I made, every relationship I got into was based on my inner child wounding. And anytime I got into an argument, whether it be, and this is it, once, I remember as a teenager when I was having fights with friends, or, fights with boyfriends, or, any kind of relationship I was in, I was having arguments, even arguments with my dad or my brother or whatever, I would actually get so emotional and angry. I'd be crying, trying to get my words out. So I was literally like a child standing there crying. Oh, not able to speak, not able to get my words out, not able to understand how to actually have a normal conversation or a normal disagreement in a sense. If we regulate our nervous system, if we actually evolve into adults, we tend to, we become more aware, so we're able to communicate better. And that's what it is. Because, the reason we revert back into a childlike state is because of, current issues. Do you know what I mean? Like, we turn into the codependent children we once were. So, like, for example, I was in a narcissistic relationship for 8 years. That turned me into a childlike version of myself. And you tend to readopt childhood behaviors because the wound is re-triggered. And the wound, that's it. Like, we have this suppressed childhood trauma. We don't even understand or put the name trauma on what we went through. And then we go through toxic relationships or toxic dynamics or trauma through our adult life. And we revert back to that childlike state. I went through a trauma in my late 20s and I reverted back to a childlike state. And I remember saying to my therapist, like, do you know what I mean? For the first time in my life, I feel like I missed my mother, like, and that's never happened before. And she was like, that's because you became so vulnerable after what happened to you that you revert back to your childlike tendencies. And that's what it is, And so when we're in a heightened state of emotion, whether it is through trauma or even just a normal argument, we go into fight or flight. We go into that fear-based energy and we end up actually doing the opposite of what we want to do because we don't understand. As children, we weren't taught how to regulate emotions. As children, we were seen crying and told to shut the fuck up. Do you know what I mean? Or we were ignored, or, we weren't pacified the way we should have been. We weren't comforted the way we should have been. And this was it, like, so as adults, we've no map, we've no understanding of how to be regulated, how to actually calm our own nervous system. So this is why, and I know a lot of people do this, when you're angry, when you're in the middle of an argument, you're crying, and you don't know what else to do. You're literally in a childlike state. You're throwing tantrums. You're telling your partner or your friend or whoever that you're fine, or you give them the silent treatment. This is not healthy. But we can't do anything different until we start to learn where that comes from. So this is about, like, we have to start looking at that inner child within us. The inner child healing is the best work that you'll ever do. We all have that inner child within us. No matter, as I said, what kind of upbringing you had, there would be some kind of wounding there. Whether you were bullied in school, whether you even just fell down and felt embarrassed about it, all of this is kind of builds up and leads to inner child wounding. That feeling of fear of rejection, that fear of abandonment, and that's effectively it. We think that anytime we have an argument with somebody that person's going to leave, that we're going to be left on our own again, or that we're not going to be loved. So we literally go into this fight or flight response and we freak out. That's why we throw tantrums. I've seen it. I've even seen it with my own dad. Like the last couple of times I had arguments with him, he was the one giving me the silent treatment. I was like, fucking grow the fuck up. Like, Jesus Christ. At that stage, I was doing inner child work. So I was the more mature one in that fucking argument. And, I had to walk away from that dynamic because of the fact that I was starting to get into those heightened states of emotions again, where I was shaking and crying and, through anger. So, it's only in really addressing your inner child wounds that you can actually start to regulate, and you can actually start to communicate better with your partner or with your friends or with your family. So this is it. Like, it's only in reparenting yourself, in actually teaching your own self how to regulate your emotions, then you can start to become aware of your triggers. This is the thing. We always put all of our pain outside of ourselves, but that pain is actually within you. You know what I mean? Like, if we're in the middle of an argument, we tend to blame the other person. And that's why we go into this tantrum energy, or this heightened state of fear, is because we're not understanding we just don't understand, because we're in that childlike state. So we're acting like a child. That's effectively it. We're acting like a child because we don't know what else to do. You know what I mean? So, like, we're unaware of ourselves and unaware of our communication, unaware of our emotions, unaware of what's going on. But when you start to do that inner child work, when you start to heal your inner child, you can start to become aware of how you speak, how you communicate, and how you respond in arguments. Do you know what I mean? And you don't even have to have arguments. Like, you see, when you regulate yourself, you don't need to start, have these same arguments that you used to. For one, you can walk away from the people that made you feel that intensely and made you feel that fearful, or made you feel in that energy. And you can start to learn how to communicate better with the next people coming into your life, for example. So you start to become aware of your triggers. You start to become aware of your emotions. You start to realize that not everything is going to end. You know, that you start to, and if it does, it's for your highest good anyway. But you start to learn how to calm your nervous system, regulate your emotions, you know, and you don't, like, it's so silly giving someone the oh Jesus Christ, like, you know, giving someone the silent treatment, like giving someone that silent treatment, saying you're fine and not being fine, you know what I mean, literally throwing a full-blown fucking tantrum. And you know, this happens, like, you know, this can happen with random bouts of anger as well. Do you know, I used to be like that as well, where I used to, the simple thing could go wrong. I used to get so aggressive and so angry. I inherited anger, but I also had deep inner child wounding where my inner child was so angry. So the simple thing could go wrong and I would literally blood-boilingly explode. It would be intense. I remember when I started to work on my anger, the simple thing of my computer and work not working, and you know, there's just glitches in the system, and I'd just be going so fucking angry, shouting at the fucking computer. Do you know what I mean? And I, like, this is not good for your heart. That is not a good way to live life. So, you know, I had to start to understand, like, that not everything is fucking that bad. The question I always put to something now is, it before I get intense, or because I'm a lot calmer than I was, is it going to kill me, or is it going to affect me in 5 years? You know, computers stop working, we go through certain things. Instead of getting angry, just breathe through it, restart the system, end of story. And that's effectively what we're doing when we're healing, is we're restarting and rebooting our system. And we're starting with a new program. And this is it. We have to reprogram ourselves to become adults rather than children. We have to teach ourselves how to understand our emotions. Do you know what I mean? Because there's nothing more unhealthy than being in a relationship where there's volatility, where there's arguments, where you're literally throwing a tantrum and going into the corner stooking, and they ask you okay, and you're like, I'm fine, and if you don't read my mind, you're an asshole. Do you know, this is effectively, and it goes both ways. It's not just women that do this. I've seen grown men, oh my God, like I used to date older men, right? The two fucking assholes I dated in my 20s were older than me. And they're bigger drama queens than fucking women. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, they're just such drama queens. And it's just like, that's because they were living from a wounded inner child state as well. Obviously, at the time, I didn't know that. I just used to... I had nicknames for these kind of people. Do you know what I mean? When any man or guy would throw these tantrums, and I'd be like, Jesus Christ. Anyway, it's like the fucking... drama queen society. Effectively, that's what it is. Like, these older men were so fucking dramatic, and this is it. It's because of that inner child wounding. So as I said, it's only in reparenting yourself and reparenting those wounds that you'll stop throwing tantrums. And we all do it. And if you say you don't, then you're lying, because every single one of us have been in the energy of I'm fine, and then not saying anything. Do you know what I mean? And that goes for both men and women. Men bottle things up as well. We've all been taught to bottle things up. So we're literally living from what we were taught as kids. Do you know, as kids we're told, shut up and put up. You know, kids don't cry, big boys don't cry, man up, all this bullshit. So literally we're reverting back to that moment in our childhood when we were ignored for crying, or where we were told to stop crying. And we're reverting back to the energy of, you know, what do I do? I'm literally here and I don't know what to do. So I'm just going to throw a tantrum. So this is what we do. We have to learn how to become aware. By healing our inner child wounds, by healing our inner self, we can become aware of our emotions. We can be aware of our triggers. And this is so important. Self-awareness is so important. Like, literally just knowing yourself, knowing your truth. You can literally take a moment of pause. If you're about to get into an argument, take a moment of pause, evaluate the situation, ask yourself, is this really worth your blood boiling energy? And like, you know, to be honest with you, when you regulate your nervous system, when you do this inner child work, you get to a stage where you don't do arguments anymore. You just don't. You either walk away before something, you know, if something triggers you, you don't partake. So for example, say, you know, if somebody left a nasty comment or a comment that I didn't agree with on my post, you know, maybe a year or so ago, I would have been like, you know, really kind of intensely getting my word across, passionately getting my word across, but that actually upsets my nervous system. So now if I see a comment that I don't like or I don't agree with, I just leave it there. I'm just like, look, not my circus, not my monkeys. I'm not going to get intensely involved in a back and forth argument with someone just because their opinion is different. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion. And that's what you start to understand is like everyone is working from their own level of wounding. So like, what's the point in wasting your time and energy having an argument or a disagreement with anyone? It's just not. It's not like, you can be black and the blue in the face, getting your opinion across to somebody whose opinion is completely different. And you're just wasting your time and energy. You know what I mean? So like now you just disengage. You learn how to disengage. And that's not silent treatment. That's literally going, I'm not dealing with that shit because I'm a regulated person now. Do you get me? So like you're not, you're literally, you're dissociating from anything that could fuck you up or give you a tantrum. Because like, but you get to the energy of calm where you're like, I'm just not going to do that. You know what I mean? You disconnect from people who used to drive you crazy, but you become so regulated enough that even if you're surrounded by people who used to drive you crazy, you just go, I don't care. You do you. If you want to believe your shit, you do that. I'm not going to get involved. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to turn into a childlike energy to fix your needs. I'm going to stay in my regulated state and I'm going to remain calm. So like the simple things then that used to upset you won't upset you anymore. And you literally become aware of a scenario before you engage in it. And you're like, I'm not doing that, because you've evolved into your adult self rather than staying into your inner child self. So this is it. We all actually grow up to be big fucking children. And I don't get me wrong, I'm all for staying young forever. Never fucking grow up. But we can grow up and do adult things and do things in an adult way. We can still be fun, we can still be childlike, but we don't have to be big adult children. So we don't have to throw tantrums anymore. We don't have to give people silent treatment. We can connect with people and communicate with people from a mature space, and we can learn how to regulate our own emotions and remain calm in situations that would once have made us into big children. So thank you so much for listening today, and I really hope this resonates. If it does, please like and share, and please subscribe to my channel so I can reach as many people as possible. And if you'd like help in your journey, please book me for a free discovery call today, and there's nothing more than to help in your path. Also, I have another channel called Aligning with Angie, where I share a guided meditation every week. The info for that is in the description box. Also, I'm hosting another Feminine Empowerment workshop next Wednesday at 6 p.m. Ireland UK time for us ladies to get together and heal and support each other. So if you want information for that, please comment below.